Welcome back to
Hello.
Honesty Talks. I'm Roddy.
And I'm Ashley, in case you do not know that yet.
Yes, hopefully by now you know that.
Yes, if it's your first time, welcome to our channel.
Yes. To our current viewers and subscribers, thank you for all the love. We love you back and we appreciate you all.
So much.
Yes, kisses. So today's show is...
Kids on drugs.
Okay. Now this is a topic that Ashley wanted to talk about, even though I love talking about it as well. So I'll let you take the lead.
Yes. So obviously, if you are a J.Cole fan, you know that he came out recently with an album called KOD.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that stands for Kids on Drugs. And I listened to the album. Obviously, I love him. He's one of my favorite rappers. And I listened to it and really just respected everything that he spoke on.
Yeah.
And because I work with kids, and specifically I work with kids that are prescribed usually a lot of medication based on what it is that they have or what they're struggling with, whether it's depression or anxiety, or being emotionally disturbed, whatever it is that they may be dealing with, they are said to take medication. And because of that, it's a topic that really inspires me, just because it inspires me to prove
Them
the
wrong.
world wrong.
Yeah.
Because although I am grateful for doctors and medication and everything that has been discovered up to this point,
Yes.
I do not agree with
It's
kids
not
being on
a
drugs.
fix all. Like,
No.
and there's so many kids. It's not even just the kids you work with. There's so many kids out there that are on some type of medication, and most of the time the medication's prescribed because adults don't know how to help their child in that way.
Yes.
And granted, it's a tool in the toolbox, as one of my clients likes to say, but there's ways, if you catch it early enough, there's ways to counsel a child or get the proper type of therapy for the child to where they learn techniques that don't require the medication.
Absolutely.
So it's like you, for example, you help kids channel their energy in a positive way so that they don't need those ADHD medications.
Exactly.
You know, like,
Yeah.
because a lot of the kids these days, they've got all this energy because they're exposed to so many things that are constantly stimulating them.
Totally.
Like, I mean, think about how young kids are handed their parents' phone or an iPad to pacify them.
Yeah.
Because the parents don't have the patience to be able to deal with the energy that a kid has.
Totally.
You know?
Yes. Because they're dealing with their own stress.
Exactly, yeah.
And probably also on medication.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
It's
It's
a
like-
cycle. It's a vicious cycle.
It is. And I think that it's super important as well to know that it's everywhere. Like,
Oh,
drugs
yeah.
are everywhere. So
Everywhere.
I'm not just like doing this so that I can say like, yeah, don't medicate your kids. It's like, either way, your kids are going to be curious when it comes to other drugs too. So it's like, if they don't get it from the doctor, which they think is okay, right? Because it's coming
It's
from the
legal.
doctor. It's
Yes.
legal, so it's okay.
Yes.
They're also curious of other drugs.
Yeah.
And they see it in the music videos. They hear it in the songs. They talk about lean. You know, I've worked with like a lot of younger kids that talk about these drugs that they don't even understand.
Yeah.
They don't know what these drugs do. They don't know how they make you feel, but they
Yeah.
see other kids do it. Because when you have a rapper that's young, that's sipping lean or syrup, whatever it is that they're doing, a kid watches that and they look up to those people and they're like looking at this shiny life.
You know what I just thought of? Because
What?
you said KOD.
Yes.
But KOD can also mean knowledge is dope. So the more you know about these things, the better off you'll be. Regardless of if it's like a prescribed drug or like marijuana or something like that.
Totally.
Knowing more about it is what's going to help you make the right decisions. And I think what happens is, especially when it comes to prescribed drugs,
Yeah.
there's just not enough knowledge. Like, parents just assume, you know, the doctor knows everything.
Yeah.
You know, and so they can't be wrong. But
Totally.
But do your research. Like, even if the doctor's like, oh, I think we should do this, do your research on that drug, and you're the parent. Ultimately, you get to decide what gets given to your child or not.
Yeah.
So,
And the
yeah.
thing is, that even if the doctor is right, because it's not that the doctors are like clueless.
Yeah,
they know,
exactly.
and they're right. Like, yeah, it does help this, right? And that's true, but it doesn't mean if you deal with the problem, then you don't need help with that, right? Like, if someone is dealing with something like depression, if as a kid you're dealing with depression, or you're unhappy, or you're really, really hyper, whatever it is, like, there are ways to use that and to deal with it and to embrace it. And when you understand yourself, then you get to work with yourself better, and you don't need to have these things numb you or like do anything with the symptoms, because you won't have the symptoms anymore, because you have your gifts and your talents, and you have what it is that you have, but it's not impeding your growth, it's not impeding your knowledge or anything, because people are working with you so that you can learn better. And at the end of the day, whether it's that these kids are curious, or whether it's that these kids are like dealing with like real mental disabilities, in both situations, it's not okay to have drugs. Like, it's not okay, or at least to not talk about them. You know, like, I remember growing up and being super curious with drugs as well. Like, oh, you know, I'm unhappy and I don't know how to deal with what I'm going through, and like, these kids at school do drugs and they seem to be happy, and then I see TV and the people that do drugs seem to be like pretty like happy, they're having a good time, and I just want to have a good time. And that's why I did drugs as well at a young age, because it was like totally normal, and no one really sat down with me and said like, these are drugs, and this is what they do to you, and this is why people take them in a positive way and in a negative way, because a lot of people that already do drugs and promote drugs do it because it's their outlet and their way of dealing with things. So you also have to be honest with kids and let them know that like, there are people that do drugs and appear to feel good because it makes them feel high, and it makes them feel like unbreakable or whatever, you know. Like, it's okay to talk to your kid, or to the kids you work with, or even to adults, honestly. It's just good to have that awareness.
And they also have to understand, like you just said, everyone reacts differently to it.
Yes.
So just because you see someone else like seeming a certain way when they're on it doesn't mean that someone else is going to be the exact same when they take it. Like, I think a lot of no matter what drug you take, it's going to affect everyone differently. Like, I'll talk about it for Western medicine, for instance. You and I could go in with the same symptoms, and the doctor would be like, okay, they both have the same symptoms, so I'm going to prescribe this drug, this antibiotic or something, and I might have an allergic reaction to it, and you may not.
Exactly.
So it's not helping me in any way, but it is helping her.
Totally.
And so for me, it's like, oh, I got to go to another medication. And so even if it's not recreational drugs, even pharmaceutical drugs are the same way. Like, it's going to react differently with each individual.
Totally.
Yeah.
And drugs in general, like, the reason I like J. Cole's album so much is because he's not talking about a specific drug.
No.
He's saying love is a drug. He's saying drugs are drugs, like
love is
actual
the best
medication.
Drug.
It is, but if it's it's used in the right way, because it shouldn't be a drug. Like, it shouldn't be something that ties you.
You're right.
To it. And that's what he was saying. Like, the strongest drug is love, and how it's like we're addicted to the wrong kind of love, right? And it's the same thing for money. Like, money becomes a drug and an asset that people look up to and admire, and it becomes idols instead of people just living for fulfillment. And at the end of the day, the reason kids do drugs and adults are the kids that once did drugs and now do drugs, or whatever the case may be. They do it in search for some type of fulfillment, and I think that is why it's super important to be aware and to also make sure that you're teaching the right things to people, because at the end of the day, J. Cole could have easily did an album on how drugs are the best and how it's helped him feel good at many times,
which so many artists do,
especially nowadays. But instead he used his gifts and his talents to create awareness and to talk about how too many kids nowadays are being taught to do things that aren't going to help them find happiness. And when you are an inspirational leader, when you're a guide, when you're a rapper, an artist, when you're successful, it's really important, or even when you're not, if you're a parent, a friend, it's really important to teach that truth to people and let them know that it isn't about fulfilling yourself with money. Like, if I'm successful, I'm not trying to preach to you guys to have success because money is great and because riches. It's really more than that. And when you know that, then you're actually fulfilled.
Well, plus success is defined differently by each individual.
Exactly.
I think we've talked about it before. Like, I'm at a place where I feel successful.
Yeah.
But I don't own my own house. I don't have millions of dollars, but in my own eyes, I am successful because I have made it to this point in my life where I can live in one of the most expensive areas in the Bay Area and I don't have to worry about anything.
And you're happy.
Like, yeah.
Like,
and I'm happy, yeah. That's
you
a
know,
huge part of success.
When you make an impact and you're living purposefully and you're delivering the right message, like, at the end of the day, you can argue that the rappers that have the bling and are preaching drugs are happy because they look happy. But you could also argue that a man like J.Cole or Kendrick Lamar or whoever, people that are actually delivering a right message through their gifts and talents, are fulfilled. And that is a deeper success than just having, like, physical success that you can see. You know, just because you're smiling doesn't mean you're happy.
Exactly.
And just because you have money doesn't mean you're successful.
Exactly.
And that's, at the end of the day, why I think the topic is super important.
Yeah.
Not because I think that people should stop doing drugs or it shouldn't exist. I just think that we need to communicate better what success is and what fulfillment is and how to really find that, because you don't find that in any type of drug, whether it's like a actual prescribed drug from a doctor, whether it's a recreational drug, whether it's like money, sex, or power. You know, all of those things are drugs and they don't ever lead to fulfillment.
No.
And we have so many things that we do that have led us to fulfillment, and drugs are not included.
And coming back to the whole kids on drugs issue, it's, you know, back in the day, it was parents were skeptical about giving their kids drugs or medications. Mm-hmm. And I feel like in this day and age, I mean, it's wonderful how far medicine has come, but at the same time, you're prescribing stuff to children at a much younger age instead of teaching them the tools that they need to help channel their feelings properly. Or process their feelings properly, and you start creating a dependency on medications at a younger age.
Yes.
When you look at the average, like, I think it's 65-year-old, I think the average amount of medications they take is like 7. And if you think, I mean, that started at a later age. Imagine now when you have kids or teenagers going on like anti-anxiety medications or antidepressants and whatnot, like, you're creating this dependency at a younger age because you're not also giving them the tools to properly process the emotions they're feeling. You're just kind of creating a numbness and they're not actually processing it. So even if they decide to choose to wean themselves off at a certain point, gradually, because doctors do that, they're still going to be exposed to those emotions that they never actually processed, and it's going to be a cycle. And the whole point of cycles is to break them, because you don't want to keep spinning around going in circles. You want to figure out, how can I stop spinning around in this circle and break it and move up or move forward. And it's creating a dependency at a younger age. And I don't agree with that.
No, and I think that I also want to bring up the point that there are people that are on medication, and I have also worked with kids that are like, look, I have tried being off of it, I have been helped, and I really do feel better when I have it. And when you can say that, there's, like, our point is not to knock, like, doctors or parents that do choose medication, because I think that if
it's, like I said, it's a tool in the toolbox.
Exactly. And if you need it and you've tried other things and they just haven't worked, or they really just, it's a really serious case and they do ask for the medication, there's a way to implement it in a healthy way. Yes. As long as you know what it is and you have done your research and you know for a fact that they want it too, and not to numb anything, but just to help them a little bit more. Yeah. The dosage, everything matters. And I think that it's great that you're using that, because it is something that's offered to help. And I think that that's initially what the whole point was. Yeah. But abusing of it is a different story. And using it as the first option, I think, is what needs to stop, because it's not about medication or drugs not being useful. It's about it being too easy to use.
Yes.
I think like it's too easy to be prescribed medication. It's like the first thing, and I think that it should definitely always be the last resort.
And because if you actually face the problem or have someone to discuss the problem with that can help you face the problem, you can overcome it. But the difficulty lies in when you don't have that help. So then you just rely on the medication because, like I said, it just kind of gives you this numb feeling because now you're balancing the chemicals within yourself, but you're not facing it. You're not growing past it. And that's why, you know, the psychiatrist is there to prescribe, but there's also the therapist and the counselor because you have to work hand in hand. It's a team. It's a teamwork. And a lot of times that's not what happens. I mean, I will say too, like, in our country, psychiatry is one of the most least funded for help in regards to, for help. Like, there's so many people out there that need the proper type of help, but there's no funding for it.
Yeah. And I think that when you've also been in the situation where you've worked with families and kids, or you yourself come from a family that comes from medication or healing, whatever, I think it allows you to see the true statistics, right? And the facts are that most of the people that are prescribed medication really don't need it. Mm-hmm. Now, do some need it? Yeah, like
for sure.
Some do need medication. It's totally okay for you to need medication, but I've worked with most of my clients, and most of my clients don't need medication, and maybe one or two do because they genuinely like have tried, and it's just they're too far in it. Maybe if I would have caught them earlier, then they wouldn't ever need it, but because it's kind of too late and their trauma was really severe, then they may need a level up, right? And that level up may be them using medication. But at the end of the day, that is a really small percentage. Like, there's just maybe like 1 out of 10 of the people I've worked with really do need medication, and the rest really just need like consistent help, you know, like constant coaching, constant mentoring, constant love, you know. That's really just what they were missing, and they didn't need the medication. They just needed patience, they needed love, they needed meditation, not medication. And those things have allowed me to see firsthand that the statistics are not like, oh yeah, all of these kids have anxiety, depression, ADHD, and need medication. The statistics are all of these kids have anxiety, depression, and ADHD, but don't necessarily need medication. They just need attention. And when they get that attention, and not attention like, oh, I'm here and I care about you, but like real like coaching and teamwork and growing within the home, within the school, within their environment, then they start changing and evolving and growing with whatever it is that they're dealing with, and then end up not needing medication. They just need more resources and tools.
There's a lot of lack of love in the world right now, and people don't know how to share it anymore. They don't know how to express it anymore. And I'm not talking about love as an emotion that you have for your significant other or your children. I'm talking about love as in compassion, love as in patience, love as in empathy. And we've lost sight of that. I mean, there's a reason in the Bible it says love thy neighbor. And it's because it's a frequency, it's a vibration, it's a gesture, it's a hello or a smile, and
it's the cure.
It's the cure of all. And I will say it's how I cured myself. Yeah. Because I am someone who struggled with depression. I was one of those people that hid behind a smile because no one knows. Only I know what's going on in my mind. Only I know the depth of which I've gone to when it comes to depression. Only I know that I pulled myself out of it through the spiritual practices that I chose to try and saw results from. And for me, it was meditation or reading spiritual books and changing my daily habits. And for me, it started with my mind. Yes. The body came later. But it's just a matter of finding the path which calls to you. So if for some people it's the gym, like that's their antidepressant. Totally. Or their anti-anxiety. For some it's meditation. it's just choosing to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's the key, is just to start. Don't question it, just what feels right, do it. Because I guarantee it's going to help you, because it's your inner guidance and it's your inner voice telling you to do so.
And even if it doesn't, I think that if you're a kid that doesn't know what feels right, like do it anyway. You know, it's I've worked with many kids and I'm like, well, have you meditated? And they're like, no. You know, it's kind of like off-putting, or they don't like exercise. But like, if you put it into their regimen as a parent or as a caregiver, whatever it is, because these kids don't fully know how to have that grasp, right? And that's what's difficult, because if the kids don't know fully what they need and they're looking for that support from their parents or from their teachers, then they're told medication is the solution, and that's what they're going to think is the solution, and they don't want to do anything else. But if you make exercise part of their routine, if you make meditation part of their routine before giving them medication or using that as an option, you'll see them transform. And they may be a little like fidgety at first, like not wanting to do it, but once they get into the habit, just like adults do, they'll learn to like it, and it will change their life.
And you know what's funny, you've talked on this, the schools where they do implement any kind of like meditative process or quiet time or yoga, even, the kids complete 180. Like these hyperactive kids, or these kids that have behavioral issues, end up becoming so calm and channeling their gifts in the proper way. I mean, I remember you saying that you had that in school as a child.
Oh my god.
And they cut the class.
They
did.
Cut
the whatever it was.
If
program.
you went to school with me, you know that in Palm Springs Middle School we had the Yes program. It was called the Yes program, and it was like a yoga meditation / like entrepreneurship class.
That's awesome.
And it literally was to this day one of the best classes I've ever taken. I was in 7th grade, and we would literally like sit in a circle and talk about really personal things. And I would go home and tell my mom about how much I loved the class. We would do oh my god, like literally I would never forget her. We all had our mats, we all had yoga, like we changed and everything from our uniform to our clothes, like our yoga clothes, and we would do yoga. Then we would lay down, close our eyes, meditate, take a nap because everyone would fall asleep, and then wake up and talk about things. We had parties, and literally like broke all of our hearts when they took the class away and had her teach regular classes. And they never had the class again, and it was the best class ever. And everyone that took that class with me knows how good it was, because we were all so impacted and also so sad when they took it out. And I was the kid on drugs. Like I started smoking when I was in 8th grade, and that I remember like not wanting any of my family members to know. Like they couldn't know that I did drugs because it was so frowned upon. And the sad part is that nowadays there isn't that. There's not the like, oh my god, I don't want my mom to find out. It's like my mom knows, and I'm not gonna stop. Like kids talk like that, and I know because I work with kids that are like, I'm not gonna stop doing drugs, and their parents know, but they don't know how to deal with it because it's what they see, and it's everywhere, and it's accepted, and it's like alcohol, all of it. It's very it's accessible,
and the worst ones are legal.
They are
the worst totally ones for your body are legal. But this topic can go on forever.
Yes. It's so great.
And that's all the time we have today.
Thank you guys so much.
We love you guys. Thank you for watching. Share, comment, like, subscribe, and tell your friends. Yes. And if you haven't seen our last videos, watch them. We appreciate you guys. We're only getting better. We're only going up. And I know we've said it before, but guests will be coming soon. Yes, very soon. To a YouTube channel near you. Thank you guys. We love you. Bye. Follow us on Instagram. We have an Honest Tea Talks Instagram. Yes, finally we got it. At @honest_talks. Honest Tea, HONESTEA_talks. TALKS. Thank you guys.